evening, everyone. This is to advise those present at this September the 18th, 2018 regular board workshop/action meeting of the Board of Education of the City of Pleasantville and the County of Atlantic that notice was given on January the 9th, 2018 of the 2017 revised annual designation of the regular monthly board meetings, as required by the provisions of Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975. Notice thereof has been distributed for publication in the press, the Absecon/Pleasantville Current, and the Mainland Journal, posted in the Administration Building, forwarded to the City Clerk of the City of Pleasantville with the time required by said act. Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley.
Present.
Mr. Buford. Ms. Couch. Ms. Erickson. Ms. Mello.
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez.
Yes.
Ms. Thomas.
Present. Please stand for the flag salute and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Mr. Tompkins, do we have voices of the children this evening?
No, we do not.
Okay. Dr. Austin, you want to start with your report, please?
Yes, good evening, Board. What I'd like to share as part of my report this evening is some information and actually a letter which is directed to me coming from the Department of Education. The letter begins as discussed in our meeting today, August 8, 2018. This document outlines expectations for information to be provided to the New Jersey Department of Education regarding the Pleasantville School District's 2018-19 budget. In light of circumstances necessitating the appointment of a monitor in the district, the Department's primary concern in making a request for information is establishing and maintaining appropriate fiscal management at the district. At this time, we are concerned that the district is incurring or projecting a year-end deficit which will limit the ability of the district to provide a thorough and efficient education for the 2018-19 school year. To be ensured that the State Monitor and Department of Education have a clear understanding of the district's financial situation in order to take appropriate action, we've been asked to respond to the following information. 1, how the Pleasantville Board of Education will pay for the obligations incurred by the Board's actions during the July 10th Pleasantville Board of Education meeting, when Donaldson's hearings were conducted. Of specific concern is the approximate $1.5 million in additional salary and benefits to be accounted for in the budget as a result of these actions. 2, how the Pleasantville Board of Education will pay and/or all obligations represented through the Pleasantville Education Association agreement ratified by the Board, including but not limited to retroactive pay for 2017-18, salary increases for 2018-19, Chapter 78 relief, as well as subsequent years of the collective bargaining agreement. 3rd, how the district budget will account for the reduction in state aid in the amount of $236,933. Note that the district was expected to account for this reduction by August 1st, 2018. Next, how the district budget will account for all unbudgeted contracts and staff approved for hire by any board actions since the approval of the 2018 budget by the county office on April 26, 2018. Next, how the district budget will account for the USAC repayment demand and PEA benefit dispute, each in excess of $400,000. And how the district budget will account for any other outstanding items noted in memos from the State Monitor dated June 19th, July 3rd, July 11th, July 24th, and August 1st, 2018. In responding to these, we are asked to specify regarding how these concerns will be addressed through itemized changes to the district budget, such as changes in allocations by budget line items. Moving forward, our shared concern for the ongoing integrity of the school district's fiscal management will be best served by the district's timely response to all requests for information coming from the department. The department expects that in the future, district and superintendent shall address board actions and agenda items with budgetary impact with the state monitoring in advance of all upcoming board meetings. Failure to abide by these requests for information in a timely manner may result in any or all of the following actions: referral to the Office of Fiscal Accountability and Compliance for review of responsiveness regarding budget issues, including responsiveness to inquiries pertaining to the budget, independent audit of all district finances, withholding of state aid until necessary budget reallocations are identified and completed. Madam Chairman and Board, I felt it important that we hear this in public because of the pending recommendations coming from the superintendent to address some of these serious financial issues for our district, and that everyone needs to understand that though many of these recommendations are gut-wrenching and heart-breaking, we have a responsibility and we're under mandate to address these or to suffer additional impacts, including the withholding of aid in the future. And that, of course, would affect our ability to serve the students. And it would also contribute to further severances of employment for different staff. So this is one of the main actions that is being recommended to the board tonight is the Human Resources Department that will be affected by all of the different individuals and different categories of individuals. But in order to meet our budget expectations according to the state, we have no choice.
And Dr. Olson, if I may add, after we completed our budget, the state did in fact reduce our budget $835,000, or $834,205, I'm sorry. And then the budget, they reduced the budget further by another $236,000. So I wanted to add that. Yes.
And if I may add to that, we have been informed that those kinds of reductions, the amounts or percentages may vary, but we are informed that those kinds of deductions will continue into the future.
Dr. Austin, the letter that you just read that
Yes.
came from the state,
Yes.
and is that public information, or is it on our website?
It's not on our website. It's copied to, of course, you and individuals. I don't know if there's any problem with it. I'd certainly maybe like to confer with the lawyers first to make sure there's nothing that we, as I said, I've just read it publicly, but I certainly don't have any problem with it. But maybe we need to confer.
You will let us know.
Okay.
Excuse me, can I
Board, you
ask a
have any
question?
questions?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Davenport.
Dr. Austin, where did the decision come from, where to make these cuts at?
The decision was basically, as I read the letter, dictated that we had to look at every area, line by line, and see where we could make the cuts. And so it was a district-wide effort from various departments that we come up with these recommendations. And sometimes the most challenging thing is to see where the budget can be adjusted to have the greatest impact to meet the expectations without actually gutting programs. One of the things we try really, really hard to do is to let the actual instruction, those things that impact directly students, be one of the last areas. But as you know, or perhaps you've seen, that at some point, in order to meet the goal, those things also are impacted. So we meet in different departments. We go through with principals, we go through directors in order to see where we can make these cuts and meet the goal with the least possible effect on students.
All right, well, I have another question. I mean, it seems to me that we could have looked in different places where we could have made less or a bigger cut and affected less people. And I'm just trying to figure out how come we didn't look in that direction. I mean, it's been a fact that we've been top-heavy in administration for years. And there are some things that aren't going right completely when you look at the third floor. And I'm just being frank about it. So, I mean, when I look at different departments where you have people making $60,000, $70,000, and they could have been 2 salaries, I mean, or if you're making $100 and some thousand, that's almost 3 to 4 salaries that we could have saved, or 3 or 4 jobs. So why did we look in that direction?
Well, Mr. Davenport, you may remember that when we first actually made these recommendations, we solicited support and input from the board. We had discussions. I don't know if you were at those meetings, but we have meetings we have committee meetings with board members who are able to come. And as I said, it's not a short process. It took months for us to arrive at. And so we're always open to any kind of recommendations or suggestions from board members about how to do this. So, what we've done was just go with what we had as the best we could. But any suggestions would have certainly been open and welcome at any point.
One thing I want to add is that it is heartbreaking to see these names on the list, especially I'm being the one to reinstate, put the resolution on the floor, and, my board members to, take that action to bring, the staff back. I just have a question for the monitor. And my question is, with us moving in the direction we was moving, how come now we're coming to this? How come there was no one from the state earlier than, I guess, a couple of weeks ago to say, listen, Pleasantville School District, this is what needs to be done. I believe that this should have been done maybe a year ago. No one said a thing. But my question is, why now?
I appreciate the question and the opportunity to explain a little bit further. I am here as a representative, obviously, of the state and placed by the commissioner to evaluate and oversee the work that's happening, particularly in the area of fiscal stability. And because a significant part of what has emerged as a challenge has resulted from the ratification of the collective bargaining agreements and some of the settlement rates there, going back to April, I had started to ask the questions about how was this going to be paid. The board had a budget reduction last July in the amount of $832,000, I think it was $205, and at that time did not apply for the restoration of aid. That was an option the board had. This time last year, that had not been done.
Question.
So that became a permanent reduction.
But question, your job.
May I finish?
Well, I'm sorry, because
Go
I'll
ahead.
forget.
Go ahead.
So your job is, you're here to make sure that it gets done, correct? Or do you wait a year and say today that we were supposed to have done it and it hasn't been done? So I'm
So,
confused.
okay, so if I can continue then, perhaps the answer will resolve the inquiry. So as we go back, last year, there was a determination made that the district was not going to apply for that restoration of aid. It had the opportunity, it didn't make that application. This year, the board did do that with the reduction that was recently made. And I know that process is still pending. Subsequent to that, there had been the ongoing process of negotiations. The business office had done its due diligence to responsibly budget for the settlement. The settlement rates were a little higher than had been expected. The concern then became, how was that going to be paid? Because the settlement, as you recall, came in after the budget had been approved by the board and by the state. So starting in April, I began the series of inquiries about how is this going to be paid. Over the course of the summer, with those answers not forthcoming, and then the subsequent adjustments that were made at the July board meeting, the gravity of the fiscal concerns increased substantially. That precipitated other people becoming involved, and most recently the budget manager has come back into the district to help triangulate the fiscal analysis of where the district is and where we anticipate it may be going over the course of the next 9 or 10 months through the rest of this fiscal year. So that's the process that has been ongoing. There had been requests for information. Those requests had not been answered, and as a result, there's now more engagement and support for the district as it proceeds.
For you, there's more support for you, right? Am I correct? You have more support now to help you make sound decisions, correct?
No, I don't concur with that. There is and has been in past years a budget manager that has worked with the state. The person who had been here previously retired, so someone recently had been asked to come in and resume some of that budget management work.
Okay, I hear you. But the other thing is that I know in the past when we vote on certain positions and you're not comfortable with either the person or whatever your concern is, you overturn it. So there were some things that was done here that was fiscal that you didn't even bother to even say a word. So that's why this doesn't sit right with me, and I'm just trying to figure this out.
Again, I had communicated that this was a concern and that it needed to be addressed. So that there are documents testamentary to that.
I have a question. Dr.
Go
Brown,
ahead, Ms.
question
Sanchez.
one. If you communicated it, who did you communicate it to? That's one. And two is, if we don't vote on this tonight, are we facing a state takeover? Is that what you're telling us?
No. One, I can't speak to the latter remark. But let's go back. The budget, when it was approved and developed and approved by this board back in the spring, included reductions.
Which we had,
Correct. Those reductions intact through to July and August. The budget was balanced at that point. So the board was presented with an approved budget, adopted a budget in the spring with reductions, and subsequently made changes, and that created, in part, the fiscal concerns that we've now been addressing over the last few months.
I have no.
Go ahead, Mr. Davenport.
Dr. Bauer, what was the reason for the reductions in our budget from the state? What was the reason for that? Or was there a specific reason for it?
I can't speak to that because I do not have that information. That's not part of a process with which I was involved.
Anyone else have any question? Anyone, still unclear of the questions that were asked to the monitor? Ms. Sanchez?
It's no other way to put it. It just sounds like to me either we vote on this or the state's taking us over. There's no other way to put it. And we're not getting a clear answer on it.
Okay.
I said, it just sounds like to me that we're forced to either vote on this tonight or face a state takeover, and nobody wants to be clear about it. That's what it sounds like to me.
Is that it, Board? No further statement?
This is just hard, you know, and
Correct.
when it comes down to it, we're looking to place blame in different places, and you know, the blame, the thing stops right here. You know, it's decisions that we make that cause these problems. And I just think, you know, we have to look more at ourselves and try to stop blaming someone else, because we make those decisions that deal with this budget and deal with these kids' education. And on both of them, we're failing. It's
I
hard.
wouldn't say that we're failing, but I understand.
We're failing.
No.
The truth is that we're
I
failing.
wouldn't
We're
say
not
that
doing a
we're
good
failing.
job. We're not
I
doing a
wouldn't-
good job.
I wouldn't say that we're failing. I would, you saying to look at, you know, what we do, which I'm quite sure everyone analyze things before, you know, that's voted on or even in committee. But now it sounds like, you know, from what Dr. Bauer just said, we're at this point because we decided to bring staff back. And since we made that decision to bring the staff back, that's why we're here having this conversation.
Well, actually, they were putting it in a whole bunch of different places. From the contract that was settled, they use that as an excuse. So there's always an
Correct.
excuse. And, you know, it's just that things add up over the years. And as you
That's
keep
true.
doing things that aren't in the best interest of the district, this is where we're at. Now we're laying off staff. I know when I was sitting there with Elijah, and I never asked him about what happened, we were $6 million surplus. And now all of a sudden we're laying people off. You know, it's...
May I answer that question?
Go ahead.
2 years ago, we put in $3.1 million in excess surplus. That's a formula. That's so long. We had excess surplus the year before that, $6 million. We had excess surplus from that, $4 million. That's gone.
That's what I'm saying. I know there was a
But
surplus.
over the years, Abbott funding we're no longer an Abbott district. Let's put it right on the table. We're not an Abbott district anymore. The state's cut funding. We can go into any category you want. The state took $500,000 in early childhood funding from us. They took $832,205. They took $236,000. Those are real numbers. And if I may speak on this, Dr. Austin, the first thing they said to us is that we're losing enrollment. Now, see, all these things take into effect the result of not just the vote, but what's going on. We pay out $5.9 million in out-of-district placements because the children are going there, and I'm not knocking ACIT or putting them down. It's a reality. In 18-19 budget, I got a call and said we need to add another $590,000 to ACIT's tuition. I said, how is that possible? Now, the business administrator there says these are real numbers. So it's a combination of everything. When I built a budget in April, Dr. Bauer would tell you we were in balance. Am I correct?
Correct.
We were in balance. We were fine. We had a contract that the state wants to challenge us and question us on, these percentages. Those are real. So there's a lot of things that came into play after the budget.
You know what, Mr. Tompkins, there's been times, many times that I've come up there and asked you about the students that are leaving the district and how do we do that.
We've talked about that.
Me and you've had conversations on that. We've had conversations about the lawyers' fees. I still haven't gotten a printout on what that was. I never got it.
You're welcome to my office Thursday morning, it's right there.
All right, so that, and then we're looking at, you know, looking in, under a microscope, what goes on the third floor. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen up there that's not needed. And
Okay.
it seems like every time there comes time for a cut, it's these people that suffer.
Okay,
And I don't know, I just
Okay,
think we need to start adjusting our priorities a little bit.
okay, $4.9 million in retro pay. You can take everyone on the third floor, and it doesn't match that. Fact? It is fact. You want... Fine.
We're gonna go into, public portion. First, we have Tim Newkirk.
All right, Tim Newkirk, PEA President. This is the first of many reports that come before the board and public comment. First, we'd like our community to know that the month of September now, the middle school elevator is still not prepared. It has been non-functional since October 2017. That's almost a year now. Next, our staffing is deficient. There are currently 25-plus paraprofessional aide positions being filled by Source for Teachers, while we have 5 aides released last year who were a RIF. They should be placed in one of those positions. The remaining positions needed should have a permanent aide. There should not be a substitute in a position where no one is hired. The mold remediation started just before school. The staff has no idea what the results were, and we still have mold all over our classrooms. Teachers are getting sick, having breathing problems, stuffed up, headaches. Why is there still inclusion classes with no special ed teacher in the classroom? We are not servicing the children and in violation of IEPs. Changes in curriculum include changing from 4 semesters to 3 trimesters with no paraprofessional development required. Nothing has been provided. The pacing charts are the same ones we had last year and have not been adjusted for a trimester schedule. Letters have come out of the third floor that are very confusing. For example, one member got a letter of non-renewal that ended in increment withholding. Does anybody read these letters before you send them out to employees? You have a member on tonight's agenda for termination who you have already taken off our member list. You claim he doesn't work here, but he has been out on medical leave. You took him off the rolls and you didn't even tell him. Why is that? North Main School was closed for the first 2 days of school because there's no air conditioning. There hasn't been air conditioning all summer long. Is this fixed, or is this just a Band-Aid? The contract was violated by transferring teachers after the August 1st deadline without contacting the teachers to discuss the change. There is no board approval, which I assume is coming tonight. This is not okay. The middle school had a change to their schedule this year. The question is, now that they're teaching 6 periods, are you going to pay them for that 6th period? According to the contract, that's an extra $3,200 per staff member for each 6th period taught. Health benefits. We had a change from 100% of Tier 4 to 85% of Tier 4. It hasn't occurred yet. Mr. Tompkins claims he can't make the changes yet. We don't have money. But this is something you negotiated in our contract. So you're in violation of the contract. You're taking money away from people. This is our money. Furthermore, we have yet to resolve the retro insurance that expired 2 years ago, that you took out that you weren't supposed to. Another violation of the contract that you signed. Ms. Thomas was there. Most of you were there. And you signed it, and now you're not going by the contract. Something that you should be doing. And you're canceling all of our meetings. I mean, we've been trying to resolve this since June. It's now September. And now you're still canceling meetings. We're going all the way into October now. This is something that should have been handled by now. Again, you're taking money from our people's checks. This is their livelihood. This is their mortgages, their family, their food's on the table. Finally, the Department of Ed is here. We want to know why they are here and what is not being done in our district that caused them to be brought here. Thanks for your time. We'll be back.
Next we have Ms. Hovey.
Good evening, Board. My name is Jean Hovey. I'm the Vice President of the PEA. I'd like to thank you for letting Mr. Newkirk read the whole letter. There's a lot of things in there that need to change. And in the past, the PEA has taken it to the 3rd floor. They've taken it to Mr. Tompkins. We've taken it to Mr. Alston. We're finding now we can't take it there anymore because we're tired of being given lip service. We're tired of not being told the truth. Get it together.
Next we have Susan Sweezy. Next we have Renee Irwin. Barbara Potter. Mr. Chris. Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I came to you with some very just small concerns. I represent the the cafeteria staff in this district. As a cafeteria staff, we're one of the oldest departments in this district. As a staff and a family, as you can see around, you see all the red shirts, that's who we represent Unite here. We come to ask you to pay attention to some of our concerns. Currently, we work under our second company. First it was NutriServe, now it's Sodexo. We came to get you to listen to a little bit of our stories. Our story resides as this. As one of the oldest departments in this district, we are severely understaffed. We are working without proper machinery. We are working in inoperable kitchens. We're also working under hectic conditions. We're also feeding over 3,500 students. In my kitchen alone, I have one working oven and I feed 629 students a day. We have 4 regular employees in my kitchen. As the heart of this community, we feed our babies 3 times a day, sometimes more. And as leaders of the community, we're asking you to pay attention to us. Because it's very hard for us to come to you when you're ignoring us, or you're not answering our calls, or you're not answering messages, Mr. Tompkins, or when you're not at any of our meetings or paying attention to us. We're not here to bash our company that we're working with. We're asking you to pay attention to your investment. As an investment and as an investor, you should be wanting to know what your investment is doing. You should want to know if your investment is upkeeping the communicable problems or making an upstanding holding in our community. You should want to know if your children, our babies that we feed all day and night, some of our teachers don't even leave till 6 p.m. or later. You should want to know if they're being fed properly, if the storage space is proper storage, if we're holding temperatures at the proper holding temperatures, if we have proper storage and refrigeration and freezer, if our freezers are going down. This summer we had almost 2 freezers go down. That spoiled everything in the freezer. We can't get maintenance help, so we're our own maintenance and our own custodial. So every day we get there at 6 a.m. in the morning, and we don't leave till sometimes 2:30 and 3 p.m. We're not getting paid. We're only asking for a pinch. We're not getting fed, because what we feed, we have to make sure that the babies that don't get fed every day and don't have 3 meals a day can get it. How many students Excuse me, sir, Dr. Austin, how many students do you know offhand that walk these streets and come back and forth to school, have a meal on their table at night? How many of them do you know is homeless? I can name 6 families, 5 to 6 families off the bat that I know is homeless, living in shelters and hotels, and their babies not getting fed at home as much as they need to. We are their second parents. We are the counselors. We are their tissues when they're crying. We are their cooks, their chefs. We are their babysitters. We are their mothers and fathers. And like I said, we're working severely understaffed. Like I said before, I'm not coming against the company that we work for. We just need you to see eye to eye with them so that we can get what we deserve and what we need. We have been overlooked for over 30 years. I've been in this district since I was 2. Now I'm working for this district. And I used to see Miss Kennedy bent over, walking from door to door. And nobody stopped to say, Miss Kennedy, you all right? You need help? Nothing. But she came in every morning to feed us. She came in every day to make sure we had what we had. We don't even have, listen, we don't even have proper ventilation in these kitchens. Hood fans, air conditioning, we don't have it. When it's cold, that breeze comes right through. When it's hot, we're in there dying of heat stroke. But we're coming back and forth faithfully. We are very loyal to you, and all we're asking for is you to be loyal to us. Please help us to continue to work, because when you guys are gone, we're still here. When you leave that table, there's a meal back there prepared for you all. And that was prepared by some of the very faces you see here today. So we're not coming in here to bash you and to disrespect you. We're coming in here to allow you to know we need to be seen too. We need to be seen, because without us, you don't have a kitchen. Without us, you really don't have federal funding. Because that food program that comes through those kitchens is a major part of your district for almost 4,000 students. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, fruit and veggie program. And sometimes we do pack a little something away for them so they can get home to the hotels and eat after that.
Excuse me, Ms. Chris, can you just wrap it up, please?
I'm sorry?
Can you just wrap it up, please?
Yes, I'm wrapping it up, but I will ask you to be loyal to us. I will ask you to be loyal to us as much as we have been loyal to you, even on your hungriest hour.
Next, we have Erlin.
My name is Erlin Chow. I am the Atlantic County Council of Education President. I represent over 7,000 public employees of the school districts. I'm a little disturbed, but first, let me just commend the board for their responsibilities and duties. I recognize this is a hard decision tonight. I've been a former Board of Education member from the city of Northfield. I'm currently the mayor for the city of Northfield. And sometimes you have these tough decisions. And sometimes you have these decisions made based on things that it's out of control. But I also recognize that some of the comments that have been made by the board members tonight have validity, have concern, and they're showing that to the many members of your school district. You know, I was told that there is a big budget deficit here. My question is this, as one of the board members pointed out. You have certain safeguards to address these kinds of situations. You have members of the board that serve on the Finance Committee. You have the state monitor. You have the superintendent of schools. You have your staff, and you have your employees. My question is this: how did you get to this point? Now, one of the things that I realize, and it's a reality, if you're going to make budget cuts and you're going to address some employments, and you may have to remove some people, I realize that you also have a responsibility to the school district and to the community to provide some substitute for services. Now, I'm not suggesting that is the ideal situation, but I want to submit to all of you that one possible motive or one possible resolution is using independent contractors, or the bad word, privatizing. Now, let me just say that several studies have suggested that the benefits of privatizing, that is considerable doubt without the surrounding efforts for a long-term positive cost effects of privatizing. Overall, there is a multitude of reasons to be wary of this practice. While the practice we know is widespread, and while we know here in Atlantic County the economy is not good, it has not been definitively proven to be irreversible, and there is considerable downside. Privatization is the best way to be disruptive and ultimately harm the method of cost savings to any school district such as yourself. At its worst, privatization can actually increase costs, lower the quality of service, reduce public accountability, and marginalize the public and school employees' involvement in the democratic process. Now, by privatizing, you can result in less accountability, maybe, to the residents of the school district and by their elected representatives, you, when vital services are taken by these independent contractors. Contractors tend to focus on performing only tasks contained in their work description, which is understandable because they are hired only to perform specific, narrowly defined jobs. By contrast, your school district employees tend to view themselves as a vital part of the system of education and provide numerous intangible that enhance the quality of their work and educational experiences for their children and your children in this school district. Now, I'm going to suggest to the Board of Education, and I'm not going to go through the rhetoric, I'm sure you've heard it, and I've heard it many times, about being a taxpayer, being a person that's been here for so long in the district, and that is honorable. But I want you to understand that if you go down that road of using independent contractors or such, that you will have less control of your workers. Unlike employees, you can closely supervise and monitor them. You can make the corrections. You have home rule. You decide what is the best task and how it's going to be done. Your independent contractor workers may come and go, and which can be inconvenient and disruptive to the stability and well-being of your school district. And the quality of work that you get from independent contractors may be uneven. Employees who want to rely on the same workers day and day after are better hiring employees rather than independent contractors. No, independent contractor is not the resolution. And I want to emphasize, you need to remember, this could be a short-term resolution, not long-term. Not long-term. Dependency. Organizations become vulnerable once they lose the capacity to perform work themselves. It may become quite different and costly to re-enter the maintenance business after you have struck the signature with the independent contractor. And finally, there's a possibility of liability. Remember, if an independent contractor suffers an injury, God forbid, many of these employees are hired and don't get insurance. And if there is some deficiency or fault on the school district, who is going to get sued? All right? So let me just leave this little point for all. If what you're proposing tonight is like a medical prescription that you and I go to the drugstore and buy, there should be a warning sign on it. And what the warning sign should say proceed with caution. Because what you do tonight may create irrefutable damage, and the welfare of what you have been entrusted by the citizens of Pleasantville may be lost. I thank you so very much for your time, and again, I recognize and commend all of you for your dedication as a school board member. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Brenda Brathwaite.
Good evening, that's Brenda Brathwaite. And if you don't mind, I'd like to back this up a little bit because I don't want to put my back to the people that I'm here to support. I want them to be able to see and hear me as well. My name is Brenda Brathwaite, and I am the Vice President of the Atlantic County Council of Education Associations, otherwise known as the Education Association for the county. I have come here tonight to be a support for the people who are here. I see a lot of red, I see a lot of people not in red, and we're a part of blue. Blue meaning that outside of the 7,000 members that we represent right here in Atlantic County, we're also a part of 200,000 strong for the state. We are NJEA. We are NJEA. I said that because, school board, I want you to know you are not alone. If there are decisions that you had to make that are going to result in the loss of jobs, we're a phone call, we're email, we're a communique away. Sometimes we have to go outside of ourselves and find resources to help us get to where we want to go. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no fault. What do you say to your teachers when they don't have things in their classrooms? You say, raise your hand. What do you say to your custodians when they don't have the right chemicals to work with? You say, raise your hand. So to the Board of Education here in Pleasantville, I say to you, raise your hand. If this is not a decision that you have to make tonight, because looking across this room, and this is just a snippet of the people who will be affected, our community is based on these educational support professionals that we have in all school districts. They are the first people that our children see in the morning. They are the people who supply warm meals, hot beverages in the afternoon. Yes, there is a fruit program, and I'm glad Pleasantville does have that because just like other urban areas, we have families who are hurting, especially in Atlantic County. We've had the highest unemployment rate since 2014 when we had a couple of casinos bail on us. Highest foreclosure rate in the country for several years. Even though we now have some influx of investment in this county, people are still hurting. And the place that our children come to receive that warm and embracing hello and a welcoming environment is right here, with all these members sitting out here, and many others who are not here tonight. By cutting staff, what happens is the impact to the community. Our children are further impacted, and that's not something we want to do. It's not as if somebody's driving from Camden to come to work in Pleasantville. It's not as if someone's driving from Ocean County to come to work in Pleasantville. People who live in Pleasantville are showing up every day to come to work in Pleasantville. So you are not making just a decision to save the school. You're making a decision about a community of people who otherwise are going to feel the throngs of this like we don't know, like we cannot relate to. So if it is a matter of saying, hey, we need to cut these jobs because we have to save this money, there are resources that can be availed to you. I'm here today as a representative to say that to you. We want PEA to be successful. We want the children in Pleasantville to be successful by coming to school that's fully staffed, that has the appropriate number of aides in the classroom, that is an environment where health and safety is not a concern, especially mold. We want our children to continue with the programs that they have had. There are great public school grants out there. How do I know? I applied for one for my district. I'm from Atlantic City, and we got it. There's more out there that can be done. There's more out there that can be had. Cutting jobs is not always the answer. It is not always the answer. And respectfully, I understand that these are tough decisions to make. When you look out or you look at your payroll and you see names and those numbers that go along with the employees, you know their faces. You know many of them. So that is not a relationship I think that any of you would take lightly in making these decisions. But if that is not a decision you can make now, then I ask you to stave off, to let us put some resources in place. I mean, just yesterday, the governor just announced a healthcare savings measure that any district can take care of. That's going to save you tens of thousands of dollars right off the bat, if not more. I can't be sure because I'm not an actuarialist, but we can get you the numbers. We can get you the help and the hard data that you need to help turn this district around. But you gotta let us help. And I say to the members in the community, you're not alone. And we're here not just in lip service, we're here to help, truly. And even after tonight, I will make my card available. Please reach out, let us know what we can do. We have other representatives right here in the county. Jean Hovey, she spoke earlier. We have our UNICEF representatives here. We are here to serve our members. And most importantly, we're here to make sure that this community stays intact. Because without solid educational program and safe schools, what does the community have? How do we build up and have children go to college, trade schools, and come back to the community to make sure that we can sustain the things and the progress that we've made? It's impossible. So I do implore you, if this is not a decision that has to be made tonight, please elicit the services of someone from the outside. We're here to help. I thank you for your time.
Next we have Keisha Rock.
Good evening, board. I'm an assistant. I've been an assistant in Pleasantville for 18 years. I went back to school this year and was told I will be now a one-on-one. There are 14 assistant positions available in my school alone. My student that I was supposed to be with did not show up. I was then placed in a classroom. Today at 2:30, I was told I will be moving to kindergarten as another one-on-one. I don't think that that's right. They're substitutes. I have to go to PD. They don't have to go. I have a substitute that's been in my classroom since September. She don't even speak English. I can't understand her, so you know the 3-year-old's not. But she gets to stay in my position while I go be the one-on-one. And then I'm being told that substitutes can't be a one-on-one. That's bull. Because I know 2 people that was one-on-ones last year for a special ed student. Get it together, because that's not right. Right is right and wrong is wrong, and that's wrong. If my position is available, I should be allowed to stay in that position and not just bullied and said that I need to go somewhere else. That's not right. What's going on? Are we trying to get rid of assistants, custodians, teachers, and everybody to just make everything about substitutes? You complain about the test scores. Who gonna teach the kids? Substitutes? You have money that's paid to state monitor, get rid of her. And the money could go right here. She has an assistant. Obviously, she ain't doing her job then. If she has an assistant, then get rid of her and the assistant. Source for teachers? We couldn't get substitutes last year to show up on a regular day. And now they can show up to be permanent? That's not right. Get it together, because that's not right.
Next, Ernesto.
Good evening, board. I'm in the Search area, 260 North Nevada Avenue of Atlantic City, union representative at the middle school. This is a shame. It's really disturbing to me and actually frustrating and very stressful that we're going through this, the custodians and the maintenance crew are going through this thing again. And for this to happen, when at first it shouldn't have happened in the beginning, because here are some ICOT law. Maybe your attorney can address that, because I had 3 lawyers plus a labor lawyer tell me there's no such law. So we're still going through a raft over this. Now, we had to come back with a with fingerprints and background checks we should never have. We got a guy still out because he's got to wait for his birth certificate just to get his fingerprints. He can't get back until that happens. He shouldn't be there in the first place. So we're putting a lot of pressure. You got, and one big thing here that I've heard is the safety and the hazard thing. You're putting these kids in jeopardy because right now these schools are all damaged. From the middle school to the high school, there's a lot of work, and you're cutting 2 maintenance crew when you should have more. But right now, I mean, leaks everywhere. Kids can slip and fall and everything else. And I addressed this to Ernie Harper, who I requested a letter, and they said we're going to go to the superintendent. I spoke with Mr. Elijah Tompkins, and I haven't even received that letter yet. It's 25 days now, showing me what kind of document are you looking for? Are you looking at this causing us to go through that? So now we're laid off, we're out of work, we're down on our funds and things like that. We come back, and we're still facing all this stuff. And it's a shame that what frustrates me, you always look at the custodians. We're being disrespected. A lot of you think we're stupid, maybe. But there's a lot of us a lot smarter than what you think. And I'm standing right here to show that. Because when somebody tells me something, I do my research. And I go to where I need to go to get that answer. Then I'll come back and let you know. Just like I'm doing now. And maybe your attorney can answer that question, Ms. Bauer, who's a state person, can answer if that's such a state law. Because right now, we haven't seen anything. And we still got guys out because they're having a hard time getting their IDs to get what they're supposed to, or they were asked to get. And we were laid off. Actually, we were brought back, and we had no conditions. And then we go back, like Mr. Tompkins, he brought some of the guys back. Then he was pointing out something about this ICAR law. They don't even exist. And that's coming from a lawyer. That's the only reason I'm addressing it this way. Maybe if your lawyer says different, Ms. Bauer says different, I don't know. But the safety and hazard of the school, your maintenance and your custodians, without us, these schools are not going to be clean, or they're not going to be fixed the way it is. Right now, as we're standing, we had all these problems. So imagine with less of them, how many more problems you're going to face, and you're going to put these kids in a very unsafe position. Thank you.
We have Mineta, Joe Mineta.
Joe Mineta, PEA Vice President. First question, to piggyback off of Mr. Davenport. So since the plan now is to get rid of people like the custodians there who make 30 cents, that's the plan, to get rid of them. Going forward, now that we floored the department for the middle school at night and the high school, what's the plan to keep the buildings the way they need to be kept? If anybody would like to take a shot at answering that. That's my first question. Anybody want to answer that? See, I know Mr. Tompkins would, but Mr. Brenner already leaned over and told him, don't answer any of the union people. You did it before, I know it's a fact. How come nobody wants to answer me now? I'm not entitled to an answer?
Go ahead, Mr.
I mean, guys, it's only right. Okay, these people have families. They have mouths to feed. Okay, it's only right. You come up with people, who came up with the list? What do we do? What pecking order did we go in? Did we henpeck? Okay, we don't like this one, he's out. We don't like that one, he's out. What did we do? See, this gets back to me when I was up here before with negotiations. Too much interference. Okay, too much interference, people with their nose where it don't belong. And these people are suffering. I have things being heard tonight that if I could have dealt with that man right there, the business administrator, I would have resolved it all. But now it's got to be heard because there's too much interference. And I can't do what I need to do for these people. And I'm sick and tired of it. Seriously.
Excuse me, Mr. Mineta, can you just, lower your voice?
I understand, Ms. Thomas, but you know where I'm coming from. Because I'm tired of the nonsense and the garbage that goes on in this place. It goes on nowhere else. And nobody loves the kids more than me, because it cost me almost $400 to feed them since they came back here last week, because they don't have food at home. So some people could put I know how to put my money where my mouth is. That's what other people need to do here. Because this is not right. And I am tired of it. And every time you turn around, these people are the ones that are getting screwed. That if you add up what they make and what they made the past 10 years, it wasn't even 3 cents. Maybe it was 2.5. Thank you.
Lloyd Hargrave. Ms. Lori Hargrave.
Good evening, Board. I'm coming to you to ask for support. I am a food service worker for Sodexo, and we are trying to negotiate a contract. So we're getting conflicting stories from where our monies come from. I don't know if you allocate it in the contract that you negotiate with Sodexo or what, but we're asking for all of the support from the board to help us complete our contract. And also, I'd just like to let you know that we're working extremely short. And I'm not going to go through the details because Elle gave you sufficient information. And we're feeding thousands of children. Breakfast, lunch, soon to be dinner, snacks in between. We need a contract, we need a raise, we're due a raise. 20, 25 cents, that's not going to do it. I've been in this district since 2002. This is my community, my children. I have family in every single one of these schools. And we work hard, and no matter what, we make sure these kids are fed every single day. Whether we have 2, 3 people out, the job gets done. So we're coming to you, Mr. Tompkins, Dr. Austin, we spoke with you. So, and the board, we need your support. And I have a list compiled of all the broken equipment in the district that's been there for years. Some stoves have been there since my husband went to school, which was what, 40 years, okay? We need the equipment to get the job done. Our number one priority is making sure our babies are fed. We're in here at 6 o'clock in the morning to 4, 5, 6, whatever it takes to make sure they get their 3 meals. And it's so true. We have so many children in our community that live in these hotels and shelters. It's unbelievable. I was on my way to work and we had to make a stop. And one of the young children came out of the hotel, and I was just dumbfounded. It was heartbreaking to see this young man come out of the hotel, living there, homeless. So I say to you that you have good, dedicated employees that have been here. These are our children, and we make sure that they get well taken care and fed, and they cannot start their day without being fed. And they depend, they're at that door, 7 a.m., 6:55, they're at that door waiting. And I'm waiting there at 7 a.m. to feed them every day. So please, give us the support. I'm just going to read you from one school about the equipment that's inoperable.
Ms. Lori,
Yes. Yes.
When you're, before you sit down, can you give Val that list?
I am.
So she can pass it to Dr. Austin?
I have several copies, but this
Okay.
is just one school. I'm not going to go through all of them. Middle school, reach refrigerator on right side is not working for the last 2 years. Dishwasher temperature gauge reading low. Dishwasher handles need to be replaced. Booster for dishwasher is leaking even though it is brand new. Warmer box is not working. Steam table not working on the left side. Little stove broken. Printer in office for we can fax and order not working. Need more food service workers. And you're not getting the workers because the pay is so low. So they can't pass the tests. A lot of them, the ones that do come in and apply. So please, board, Dr. Austin, Mr. Thompson, please get this together. All right? Thank you very, very much. And we also have a petition.
Next we have, it looks like Ty McCabe. Okay. Ms. Smith?
Good evening, board members, Dr. Austin. And to my community in which I live in, yes, I do have on a red shirt, but I'm here for everybody, not just the cafeteria staff, food employees. You're doing an excellent job under those conditions, and keep it up. And I just want to say to our board members, I wish you could see the expressions on your faces while we're sitting out there. Some of you look like you're on another planet, thinking like this and whispering. We see that. And it makes us feel that you're not concerned. I'm looking at one right now saying I would be glad when she sit down. Your facial expressions mean a lot to people out here. You don't have a professional look. You have that I don't care look. And that's not for everybody up there. I can point to 3 or 4 people that I know are sincerely concerned. And the rest of you are just waiting for your pension date. And you know who you are. And you can start from the top 2. Number 1 and number 2. And I don't have to call no names. I'm not calling no names. You know who they are, and they know who they are. It's time to take action for bringing positive things to this district. And certainly by laying people off, firing people, bringing them back. You go to bed at night thinking you got a job, and you wake up the next morning, you have 0. But do your first 2 people have to worry about that? No. That's why they can sit up there and look like they're on another planet right now. And I can say what I gotta say. I've worked in this district for nearly 40 years. I've lived in this community for nearly 50 years. I've watched this district at its peak when we were growing. And now it hurts me to see where we are and to know that you're laying people off and firing people, and you got 6-figure people up there that don't even know what day of the week it is. I have a problem with that. You take all the little people that you think don't mean nothing, but they do. They're important to this district. They just don't make the figures that you make. And you can dress up in your little suits and ties all you want. It don't change nothing. I have a problem with having 3 state monitors. Am I right? Somebody answer that question for me. How many do you have?
Just 1.
How many?
Just me.
Wait, let her answer, because she don't answer nothing else. Let her answer this. How many do we have?
I'm the state monitor assigned to Pleasantville by the Commissioner's office.
Is there another one?
There's a budget manager that has been assisting.
Is that a state monitor?
No, a budget manager.
Budget manager from where?
The Department of Education.
Thank you. Don't play games. First of all, we've had a state monitor since I retired in '05, and I had over 30-some years in at that time. How in the world do we have a state monitor and monitors in this little old country district, namely Pleasantville, who cannot solve a problem, not one, not none? I have a problem with it. No reflection on you, because I know you stuff in your pockets too, like the rest of them. And Dr. Austin, don't even look at me like that, because you know I'm telling the truth. They stuff their pockets. They pass at least 100 school districts to get to Pleasantville. Why? Because they think the residents of Pleasantville are stuck on being stupid. And I don't fault the Board of Education, because trust me, they keep a lot away from you too. A lot of things go on in this district that you don't know about, and they have a way of keeping it hidden from you. Well, we're sick and tired of being tired of gossip of what's going on in this district, and lo and behold, it's true. And it's not about students, it's not about the staff, it's not about nothing but chaos. The more chaos you can raise, the better you feel up there, like this and like this. It's time to cut it out. You're dealing with taxpayers. You're dealing with a community where people are seeking to get their children out of the school district. And they're leaving. Check your records. And there are not enough schools to put them in. So what do? They get to 5th grade and they out of here someplace else. Check your records. It's all over. It's called a silent movement. And that's what they're doing to get out of the school district, and you're losing a lot of good staff members. Staff members who have dedicated themselves to this district. And what do? Step right on them. Feed your little pockets. You don't have to go home tonight and fear for tomorrow that you don't have a job, because you, so to speak, got it made. Well, lo and behold, we need to get together. We need to demand things. And you ever heard of those little things called signs? Let's get on WNSBC, NSNBC, CNN. Let them know what's going on in this little town. We're not dealing with a budget like New York or Philadelphia. My budget at home probably can surpass this. And you got people up there who's supposed to have brains to do what? Cause this. It's time to stop it. 3 attorneys, do what? Whisper up there, leaning over, whispering while we up back there looking at them. 3 attorneys, is it 3 of them? 3.
Ms. Smith, can you wrap it up, please?
I'm wrapping it up as I go. 3. What do we need 3 attorneys for? I would love to know.
Ms. Smith, you have 1 more minute.
Okay. All right, thank you for giving me your time.
Sorry, Ms. Karen,
Thank
we
you.
can't give away time.
Can't give away time, but can find people. But at any rate, it's time to get serious. You got people making top dollar, and you're gonna go down to the bottom and hurt those people. Most of them are working from payday to payday. And you got some of these top figure people don't even cash their checks. Just deposit it and save it to look at and leave to somebody else. And you got the little guys who come in here and work diligently every day, men and women, and they can't rest at night knowing that they don't have a job. Take a look at yourself. I wish I had a mirror to give each one of you. Look in the mirror at yourself and see what you're creating out here. It is not a happy feeling to know that some of these people don't know how they're going to make it. But you know how you're going to make it. By robbing the little people and lying to the rest of the board members. It's time for you to come out of your hidden agendas. And I know 2 of them that do have hidden agendas. And it's time to stop it. And then the whole board has to suffer behind your neglectness. And it's not all the board members. It's those that get on the pike, get on the parkway, stuff their pocket, and out of here. So it's time to stop it. Stop it right now. Save these people jobs tonight. Give them a chance to make a living for their families. They can't go out of here rich. They didn't come in rich, and if they wait on you, they're not going to go out rich. Save their jobs for them. Give up your job. Maybe what you need to do is hire them 2 up there to work at night.
All right, Ms. Smith, your time's up.
Let them try working at night. That's all I got to say, and I know you're going to talk about me, and if you got anything to say, any one of the top 2 leaders in this district, call me in for a meeting, and I'll be glad to meet with you with my lawyer. And it won't be one that you have on duty.
Ms. Karen? Ms. Karen? Okay. Rosalind Walker? Linda Carrington? Maisha Moore?
Hello, Board. My name is Maisha Moore. I am a resident taxpayer and a parent of a kindergartner over at Leeds Avenue School. To the teachers and to the custodians and the staff workers, thank you all. My daughter has had amazing education thus far, and just thank you for all of your hard work. To the Board, I just ask that when information is coming through as a parent, we don't get it fast enough. There are certain things about her school, about the teachers, class, and the education, I didn't get till 2 days before school started, and I think that's unacceptable. I'm here, choosing to live here, paying taxes here. My husband and I can choose to live anywhere, but we choose to live here in Pleasantville, and I expect to get some type of respect of getting information faster to parents. It's ridiculous that things take this long to get to us. Any information, even when I called the school, my daughter had outstanding lunch balance, it took me calling 10 times to actually get information to pay the balance off, and I think that's unacceptable. I just ask that you make sure that when parents are reaching out to the schools, and I do love the school, she's getting a great education, that we get responses back in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for public portion. All right, Mr. Tompkins.
Madam President, can I get a motion to approve the board minutes?
Necessary motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barkley. Any questions about the minutes? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Buford? Ms. Couch? Mr. Davenport?
Yes.
Ms. Erickson? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Madam President, as I discussed in the back, can I get a motion to approve the high school class coverage for June, through June 30th?
Necessary motion.
Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Mello. Any questions?
Question. Mr. Thompson, you said class coverage, is that for the total high school?
Yes.
All right, so are we addressing the phys ed teacher that needs to be hired? I know we had a conversation about that, and I don't see it on the agenda. Is that going into the coverage? Is that also a part of that?
If there was an employee that was covering another program or another class, they would be in that. Other than that, I can't tell you by name. I don't know the names.
Mr. Davenport, you was talking about hiring?
Yes. I know he's been there working, covering the phys ed department, and is also a coach. So it was kind of important that that was addressed tonight. And I thought it was going to be addressed, but I don't see it on the agenda, being that it does have to do with our athletes.
Mr. Tompkins, no, that's not on the agenda. We actually all hiring had been frozen in connection with the budget deficit we were trying to make sure we resolved, and we cannot move forward with any additional hires like that until we resolve this. So that will be reevaluated because there are, as someone mentioned, there's some positions that are still vacant at several schools, and that's one that's still vacant at the high school.
Any other questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Buford?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Mr. Davenport?
No.
Ms. Erickson? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Thomas, I'd like to move the HR agenda.
Can I get a motion? for
Necessary
HR?
motion.
Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Couch. Questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Buford?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Mr. Davenport?
No.
Ms. Erickson? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
You must recuse yourself from one individual, and you must state why.
Family member.
Ms. Sanchez?
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Thomas, can I get a motion for consent on finance, facilities, curriculum?
Necessary motion.
Oh, wait a minute. Before you do that, I have a question about facilities. It says Washington Avenue, Fire Department. It has the date and everything, and then it says Leeds Avenue, Red Cross. And then when you open it up, the letter is stating that they need it for October the 20th. But I think here it says the 4th.
Can you expand that?
It says Leeds Avenue, October the 4th, but when you open up the letter, it says they need it for October the 20th.
That's fine. There may have been
So
a,
I just think that the date needs to be changed.
correct.
So, I'm sorry, can you go over that again, what you want us to approve?
I want to approve finance, facilities, curriculum instruction. Is there anything else, Dr. Austin?
Page 19. Page 19, resolution number 5, the first 3 names to be pulled. What is it?
That's C&I.
Yes.
Anything else?
Anything?
He didn't realize we were voting on human resources.
Okay. Any other questions for, with Mr. Tompkins?
No.
Ms. Thomas, you had those, what names pulled? What was that, resolution number 5, you said?
Yes. Page 19, the
All right,
first
the 3 to 7, the 3 to 7 program?
Yes.
All right.
Any other questions for that? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
I still need a motion.
Necessary
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry. Can I get a second? Can I get a second? I'm sorry.
No, that was Ms. Couch.
Ms. Couch. Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley? Yes. Mr. Buford?
It's a, no,
This is not HR, sir.
After we vote on this.
it's a motion on the floor. No, go ahead, go ahead.
Ms. Couch? Mr. Davenport?
No.
Ms. Erickson?
She said yes. We're missing the microphone.
Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez?
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Relax. Relax.
Come on, I can't hear.
No beef. Can we do it after executive session? If we can change it after executive session? We can change that after. We just call them. We ready for executive session? We do it after. Go ahead, Mr. Tompkins. Huh? To go, that's it for now, until we go to the bank. Can I get a motion to go in executive session? Or what?
We can do it in the... Go ahead, Carl.
A motion to go into executive session?
Necessary motion.
Second.
You have the time, Mr. Tompkins?
The time is 7:38.
It is hereby resolved that Pleasantville Board of Education may go into closed or private session from which the public shall be excluded in accordance with the provisions as set forth in NJSA 10:4-12 and 10:4-13. The following subjects should be excluded, shall be discussed on this date in the session of the board closed to the public: personnel, pupil matters, pending and anticipated litigation. Be it further resolved that the discussion in closed session will be disclosed to the public at this time or future meeting of the board when it is no longer necessary to maintain the confidential nature of the items discussed.
All in favor to go into executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Discussing tenure charges for Ms. Cotepo.
In addition, the board will be discussing several grievances submitted by the union. There's a list available.
Is there any problem with?
A motion to come out of executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Aye.
Madam President, we have, it was my error, we forgot policy, so I need a motion to approve policy.
Can I get a motion to approve policy?
That's our motion.
Can I get a second? Second by Hannah Erickson. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. None opposed?
We have anything else, ma'am? Yes. I need a motion to approve Cotepo's tenure charges.
Can I get a motion? Can I get a second?
Second.
Any questions?
All in favor?
I would say roll call. Roll call, Mr. Tompkins. Do a roll call.
All right. Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Erickson? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
No, stop. One more. I need a motion to approve the returning of the 3 days to for Russell Terrell and have the letter removed from his file. I need a motion.
Can I get a motion? Can I get a second? Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Erickson? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes. I think that was it.
That's it, right? Good. It's now 9:30. Motion to close?
Can I get a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. None opposed?